Greetings and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Eye on Golf with the Shotgun Start. It is June 18th. Andy, how we doing?
Brendan, I gotta say, I've been a little bit in a blender since I got home. We had a some cleaners come by the house while I was gone,
Yeah,
and they took it upon themselves of rearranging my entire kitchen. It's been an utter disaster. I know where nothing is. I'm solo parenting this week, and it like I every time I go to open a cabinet or a drawer, there's like different
sure.
stuff that I expect in it. I can't find anything.
Sound like my dad. My parents paid some house organizer to come to their house, and he's just been pissed off for the last 3 years because he's still trying to figure out where things were. And they paid for this service, and they're like, it's like I paid for this to not know where anything is. I had my patterns. It sounded a little bit like Brian Rolapp coming in a new job, not knowing where anything is, opening different cabinets, maybe being surprised of what might be there, horrified, pleasantly surprised. You never know. But that's the biggest news of the week as we sort of move beyond the blast radius of the U.S. Open in Oakmont and back to basics or back to PGA Tour life in a very anything but a basic week on the PGA Tour. I was wondering if they waited to announce it this week because Rolapp lives in Darien, Connecticut. And so was he just looking
Darien.
for a nice
Isn't it Darien?
Darien? I think it's Darien. Darien, Connecticut. I don't, all the fancy kids I went to school with from New England, I think that's how they pronounced it. Darien, Connecticut. I wonder if they waited. It was like, I'll drive up. I'm not flying to, Dallas or Colonial. We're gonna wait till Connecticut, and that's when we'll announce it. So he is. It's anything but a normal week, and that's the news of the month. News of the week is Brian Rolapp coming in, checking out his new kitchen organization.
Well, I mean, one of the most amusing things about new jobs. You get a job, they sell you on what they dream of you coming in and doing, and then inevitably you find all the skeletons in the closets. I one question I have, outstanding question. When does Jay hand over the keys to the jet? Does he get to use the
The
jet
private
during its
jet.
sunset period? Yeah. Does he get the 18 months where he's hanging around as the ceremonial commissioner? Does he get the full access to the jet, or are they just purchasing a new jet for Rolapp?
I would imagine he's not letting it go of that jet easily. He's here for 18 months. You get the part of the 18 months is the jet. It will set course for Steamboat, I think, multiple times. Like, use the jet. I mean, it's within his prerogative. It's within his purview. Guy's put in his time, for better or worse, over the last 10 years. I think he's allowed to probably use the jet as long as he still has the title. But yeah, I don't think they're probably buying a new jet. I think I don't know if it's skeletons or what you'd call it, but there's certainly an adjustment period. I think we've seen that with the Strategic Sports Group now with their investment a little over a year ago, just sort of understanding what's going on here behind the moat, what's going on at PGA Tour HQ, and sort of getting acclimated to the role. I'm wondering, what are your takeaways? What's your initial reaction to Rolapp day one? He's only talked but for 10 minutes at a press conference and had a lot of glowing articles, glowing press, glowing testimony from coworkers or past coworkers.
Yeah, I've been very impressed. Obviously, performing well in a orchestrated appearance is one thing. I think the proof's in the pudding, though, with what he's done with the NFL, and
Yeah.
obviously, a lot of this will be how he handles his new job. But I think first off, the presence in front of a camera is a kind of a stark contrast to what golf's had the last few years. Obviously, there's been a number of like cataclysmic events in the golf world that have not been easy to handle, whether it was
Sure.
COVID or a rival league dumping billions of dollars and recruiting players away. But I think like the thing that I'm most excited about is you read about Rolapp is his relentless focus on innovation. I think this is where golf, if you look at golf and where it went astray the last 20 years, it was very complacent. and that's what allowed the live schism to happen, was that golf as a product hadn't really evolved. Golf as a league hadn't evolved, and that's what it seems like Rolapp's like biggest strength is he innovates, he is a forward thinker, and obviously a lot of that success was centered around media and some of the new programming that the NFL rolled out during his tenure there, notably Thursday Night Football. There are a lot of opinions on Thursday Night Football, but from all intents and purposes, it expanded the NFL footprint to another day of the week that it dominates now. What about you?
I think when you look at the lineage for someone like us, I think, we're just two clowns, but we sort of have a priority on product, a priority on creative, a priority on innovation that appeals to us. I'm not sure we're any good at it, but it's what it appeals to us. And, Tim Fincham, he was an attorney, right? He was like expert at the administration of power, right? And control and management of a tour. I think Jay Monahan comes from a marketing background, sort of a sales background, and excelled really at continuing to keep the sales trains running. But we know the PGA Tour is this gigantic cruise ship with so many masters to serve that can quickly lose sight of the main thing not becoming the main thing anymore. And who are we serving? Are we worried more about this sponsor? Are we worried more about the 68th player in the FedEx Cup standings being upset about the way this is going to shake out? And you end up with this mishmash, as they say, of just this product where everybody's pulling things in a million different directions, and the main thing sort of gets dulled down and lost. And I think with Rolapp as the new guy in charge, maybe there's a re-emphasis on the priority of the product and innovation, and someone willing to sort of give people hard, bad news, right? That like, look, that's not going to serve us best. That's a bad idea. And so that's what really excites me. I, of course, am partial to his media background, NFL Network, and sort of innovating there and innovating throughout his tenure, 2 decades in NFL. And look, they got like the number 2 guy from the biggest sports league in North America, and a guy who by and large would be the next commissioner or likely next commissioner of the biggest sports league in North America, if not for Roger Goodell's firm grip on the position. To me, that can't possibly be a downgrade, right?
Yeah, I think that it's a huge win. One of the other things that I loved from it is like he plays golf. He said he's gotten back into the game because of his kids, but he's like not a golf guy. And I think when you look at great innovators, typically they're not associated with the industry they're in.
Sure.
When you think about, the founder of Airbnb, it's not like he was running a hotel company before he started Airbnb. The founder of Uber wasn't running a taxi car conglomerate. Typically, great ideas come from the outside, and then they get in and they're able to establish these great ideas. The fact that Rolapp suggested in his intro in his intro appearance that he's not going to be playing a lot of golf. I think a lot of people like to get into the golf industry because they see the perks of the job. Oh, I'm going to get to go play Pine Valley, and I'll probably get to play Augusta National. Admitting right out of the gates, I'm not going to play a lot of golf in this job. It's a great sign for the organization overall, and establishing a culture of, hey, this is a business. This isn't just. Yeah. I think like for a long time, the PGA Tour's kind of been run as a quasi business, and that's because a lot of people get into golf in order for to get the perks of golf, the perks of the golf industry. It's like, oh, I love playing golf. I'd love to work in golf. When the reality is the best work in golf is done from generally people that aren't interested in the perks of the golf. And I think that's what probably excites me the most about Rolapp.
Yep. Yeah, we see that pretty consistently in our industry. People getting in golf to play some fancy golf courses. You don't get to play much. You just don't get to play much. Now, all right, he's taken the reins. Are there some immediate sort of changes that maybe we'll rip through these quickly? Changes you want to see him, or changes that you would love to see Brian Rolapp bring to the table? I'll throw a few out there. Silly one, removing all backboards. Let's prioritize the competition. Let's get these grandstands off the fringe. Bump them back. Another one, I'd love to see an embrace of more international tour. We just talked to Victor Hovland. He goes to Norway for the summer, essentially after the Travelers. Love to see more collaboration with the DP World Tour in the summer, of true link season, maybe into the Asia Pacific area in the winter and fall. And then last, but certainly not least, we have to figure out how to make East Lake like an actual festival, an actual championship, a total bonanza celebration and party, and not like the last day of school where you're just like limping across the finish line and happy to run the hell out of the building. And that's what East Lake feels like. Those are a few things I'd like to see him prioritize. How about you?
With East Lake, I think the start would be nothing screams festival like 100 degrees and humid in the end of August. So like that's maybe the start. Most festivals try and host the festival at the best time of year in the locale.
Yep.
I don't think Atlanta has like a ton of music festivals or street festivals that happen in August.
Outside.
So the idea of having a golf festival in August is a golf festival in Memphis in August. Like, what are we doing? That's number one.
FedEx.
One of the things that some of the coverage of this news highlighted that I was just kind of, it's been a year since SSG dumped a 1.5 billion into the tour, and obviously there's a promise more if there's unification in the game. They haven't spent any of it.
Right.
Do you think they've had an account that's accruing interest, so it's more than 1.5 billion?
I think I'd rather not just spend it willy-nilly, because then all of a sudden you got extra private jets. You got whoever Mule in the FedEx Cup suddenly has all these new sponsors that maybe aren't the best allocation. But yeah, I think that's probably the appeal a little bit for Rolapp. He's got some real backing and a real ability to chart kind of a new course with that innovative mind you talked about. So,
I think there are a lot of things you could do with a lot of money. Obviously, some of the ones are like purchase, and the long rumor's been purchase the Ryder Cup or the PGA Championship from the PGA of America. I don't think Don Ray is going to just let that fumble out of his fingers. I think he's going to hold on to that for as long as he can. Here are a couple easy ones I had. Let's eliminate all exemptions.
Okay.
Golf likes to tout itself as a meritocracy. But here we see that Jordan Spieth has played his way into the signature event this week through exemptions into signature events, which were supposed to be like, you have to earn your way into this. But because he's a high-profile player, he did not qualify for the signature events based off of last year. But because of his stature in the game, he's gotten a ton of handouts into these signature events, which are free points. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden he's in signature events because of his spot in the FedEx standings that was earned via handouts. So I don't want any more sponsor exemptions, no more 2-year win exemptions, no 300 make cut exemptions. And this is kind of akin to the NFL that doesn't have guaranteed contracts. So this would be a little like very easy comparison to Rolapp here. Number 2, this is a very vague one. You hit on like maybe more worldwide events. I think that will be a huge thing with Rolapp is like the globalization of the sport. Let's figure out the schedule.
Yeah,
I think you could have a lot of opinions on the schedule. There are a lot of things you could do with the schedule. There's like a ton of different options. A lot of innovation can be done within the schedule. I think everybody would agree that the schedule ain't working the way it is. For example, this is like a total golf example. We have 2 major championships this week and a signature event. That's not collaboration. So we have what's supposed to be a huge event on the PGA Tour. We have a women's major in Frisco, and then the senior tour, which is owned by the tour, has a major. And it's on tape delay. Yeah. So let's get kind of our house in order. This would be like being a parent of 3 and signing all 3 kids up for different things at the exact same time on the exact same day, so that there's no way we could get all the kids to the different activities on time. And then finally, the last one that of the 3 that I prepped here, I think the number one goal, the number one priority for the PGA Tour has to be to establish more lucrative and more valuable owned properties. And what I mean by that is that if you look at golf and men's golf in particular, the biggest events of the year are the Masters, the U.S. Open, the PGA Championship, the Open Championship, and the Ryder Cup on Ryder Cup years. None of those events are owned by the PGA Tour, and that is a huge problem for the organization. So my big thing would be to look at how can we elevate some of our events and maybe get them to be of bigger stature. And I would immediately, obviously the Players is a big PGA Tour event. The President's Cup is a big PGA Tour event that has a lot of focus, maybe hasn't had the competitiveness it's needed to elevate into a higher stratosphere. But then I would start to look at like how to, as you alluded to, the Tour Championship. How do we make this a big time event? I would look at the BMW, the former Western Open it's been massacred over the years. Once a major championship, once considered a major championship in Chicago, Illinois. Now a 70-person playoff event or 50-person playoff event that rotates all around the country. Like, how do we establish that identity back to being a great event that was, maybe not all the way to the level of the U.S. Open, but close to the U.S. Open in terms of stature. If you look at the amateur game, the WGA runs the Western Am. That's considered about as high profile as the U.S. Am. It doesn't get the exemptions, but that is as prestigious of an amateur event as it comes, and that was kind of how the Western Open and the U.S. Open used to be.
So all right. Well, there's a lot. I love it. There's a lot for Rolapp to discover in the kitchen. I think our CBS producers are wondering what the heck they got themselves into as we blow through the stop sign in 6 minutes, way past whatever we were supposed to go to break. But this is the way things can go on the Shotgun Start. We're going to take a break. We'll be back here soon to talk a little bit U.S. Open grades and look ahead to Travelers. All right, we're back with Eye on Golf with the Shotgun Start. We went way long on the first segment, but that's how things operate here. We're going to make up for lost time or gain time here the rest of the hour. One thing we did want to show off in this new show is a little segment, social media video of the week. We found a little video. We were poking around on social media on Instagram yesterday.
Somebody sent it to me. I did not find this.
Okay. And a home interior designer in Farmington, Connecticut was heard about Tiger Woods, Adam Scott, looks like Sam Kennedy, Brian Rolapp was there at one point, heard that the whole gang was down at a local restaurant and just jetted over there and sort of imposed her will on the table. And she got a picture, a selfie with Adam Scott, as we saw here, said Tiger wasn't that friendly in the comments. The restaurant was called Artisan in West Hartford. I just love that, like, the future world order of golf is that I was looking around, there's a Costco, there's a Home Depot, there's a Whole Foods. It's just like this sort of classic suburban mixed use area. And you got the whole future of golf. You got Rolapp. I'm wondering, he's like, what's going on right now? I have some interior decorator sort of assaulting this table, looking for selfies as I'm talking to Tiger Woods. What did I get myself into? Sort of, that was my favorite. You found it last night, or someone sent it to you, I should say. This woman is like Artisan in West Hartford. I found him. Tiger. If I'm Tiger, like, I'm not indulging this. I don't think he's being mean to be like, all right, thank you for coming over and really like racing over here. It's just, these guys can't be exposed like this. It's an amusing, highly amusing video.
It's an incredible video. It's kind of alarming that that they couldn't coordinate a restaurant with like a private back room that they could go with privacy.
I couldn't believe that.
The woman was like, a friend tipped me off that Tiger was at this restaurant, so I immediately rushed over. So they had been there for a while. She got all dialed up, headed out, wanted to get her picture with Tiger Woods, and all of a sudden, she's witnessing what was a quasi board meeting for the PGA Tour.
The whole future world order of professional golf is right there. And like, this woman's just like, just starts chatting up the table. I applaud her gumption for going and just like, I'm going to throw myself in there, get in the mix. So yeah, it is surprising they were that exposed.
With a middle-aged woman getting a selfie with Adam Scott, who's been, the joke is like, my wife has never been interested in golf, but Scott showed up on the screen and all of a sudden she wants to watch.
There we go. Adam Scott in the final group on Sunday, straight from Oakmont to suburban restaurants in West Hartford with the big time tycoons and future CEO of the PGA Tour. We followed him for a good bit on Sunday. We're fresh off a trip to Pittsburgh for the U.S. Open. We thought we'd hand out some grades. This is a tradition, sort of a device. Sort of it could be a crutch, quite honestly, if you don't have deep analysis on each player, but it can be a crutch. It's an easy way. Easy way to categorize and understand, who did what with a very black and white determination. That's maybe not always fair. Let's hand out some grades from U.S. Open. Adam Scott will certainly be one, but let's start with J.J. Spaun. Feels like an easy one. Andy, where are you going with our winner, J.J. Spaun?
I'm going to give him a D. It was a lackluster. I'm joking. He gets an A+. I mean, the guy won one time. He'd won a Valero Texas Open at TPC San Antonio, and he's now a U.S. Open champion. Will go down. Golf junkies would always have known who J.J. Spaun was and remembered who J.J. Spaun was 10 years from now, like the way I remember who Dan Forsman was or John Houston. But now he is etched into the history of the game. A+ for J.J. Spaun.
I agree. A+. Obviously, the bigger future-looking discussion is, what does he do now? Where does he go? Did he fall like kind of backwards into this A+ with having just caught in a groove in the test? He's a great sort of striker of the ball, but he doesn't have a long resume. So we'll see where it goes from here.
The floodgates open.
No, I think he could win again on the PGA Tour, but floodgates, just a preposterous media term, sort of connotes, I don't know, he wins 5 times a year for the next 20 years. I don't think that's going to happen. Sam Burns, who played alongside Adam Scott in that final group, what grade do you have for Slam and Sammy Bermuda Burns?
I gave him an A because we haven't seen him in this position where he legitimately, I got to say, I want to give some context to my grades. I grade highly for anybody that had a chance to win, because I think winning a major championship is all about getting yourself in the moment. Kind of as J.J. Spaun alluded to, being 4 shots within the lead heading into the back nine. You would take that on Monday, and it's all about just giving yourself the opportunity to play the 9 of your life like J.J. Spaun did and win. So Sam Burns, I give it A too. I think beyond just being there, being in the moment, having a legitimate chance to win, which was his first time in a major having a legitimate chance to win on Sunday afternoon. On top of that, the way he handled the whole situation with the casual water and not getting relief, I thought was great after the round. What about you?
I gave him an A-, just dating him there for a Sunday 78, I guess. I mean, it was a great week. Had a chance to win like he did at Canada. He was total class with the water issue and speaking afterwards instead of screaming bloody murder and stomping his feet. Giving him an A-, slight ding for the Sunday round. How about Adam Scott, who played alongside him? What grade do you have Adam Scott at?
I got the grade at A-, and I know you're gonna. I got a feeling you're gonna pop him because of the 79. He's 44. He's almost 45. We didn't expect this at all. He had a shot to win a major, and at the end of the day, what Adam Scott's career at this point, moving forward, all that matters for him and his legacy as a player, it's not going to be he won a Travelers this week. That's not going to change the way we think about Adam Scott. The only way the discourse of his career changes is if he contends at major championships and picks one off, a la Tom Watson. Where Tom Watson's like one of the things you bring up about Tom Watson's career. God, he almost won that Open where Stu Cink won, and he felt like getting opportunities like Justin Rose had at the Masters at this age. That's all his career is about. A-.
I gave him an A. Actually, you're thinking I'm too hard. I'm like one of
come down on him.
one of the nuns I had growing up slapping people on the hands with the ruler. I'm not that tough. I'm giving an A because he's 45. I'm giving him a little extra curve here. He's 45. He was played in the final group. He shot 79. They were like 3 rounds worse on Sunday, I think, than him. It was Phil Barbary, the qualifier. It was the only worst round. He tied Ryan Gerard with another 79 on Sunday, and that was it. So, but I'll still give him an A. He's 45. Adam Scott, not Scottie, as I was told I was unprofessional for calling him Scottie because that confuses with Scottie Scheffler. I'll give him an A. How about Rory McIlroy? Backdoor, top 20 for Rory. Little grumpy boy earlier in the week, but he gets in there with the 67 on Sunday. What was your grade for Rory?
I got a D. You know, I think that he's just kind of got to reset and find what the motivation is. This was very unexpected. Yeah. I think everybody thought there was going to be great relief. I think it's a reminder that you never know how a significant life event in any walk of life, whether it's career driven or like personal driven, what a significant life event, how it's going to affect your the future of your life. And this hasn't gone well. The iciness with the media is something that I think is going to change in the near future. I think he's going to kind of become friendlier with the media again. But the performance on the course was just not there. I think he's got a lot of things to tighten up before Portrush.
C- is what I'm giving Rory. I thought it was an okay week. Sunday was redeeming in a lot of ways, both with the talking and having a better attitude, and then obviously the round. But yeah, I think his approach has made his grumpiness a bigger story than it needs to be by blowing off the media. So I'll give him a C-. Scottie Scheffler, the sheriff of the Fair Police, Scottie Scheffler. What grade you have for him? Another one kind of could have won there in the last 90 minutes, 2 hours. Scottie Scheffler, what's your grade for him?
I got B- for Scottie. Did you see his press conference this morning where he was talking
not yet.
Fair versus unfair golf?
No. What do you say?
He just needs good shots rewarded and bad shots punished. You know, when you break the law, you gotta be punished. You gotta go to the slammer.
Hit the siren. Scottie Scheffler, bringing out the siren and Travelers.
Producer PJ jumping in here. I had him as a B. Didn't have his best stuff. Obviously, still could have won. Finished top 10. If he had just grinded, made a few more putts. That's your cliche, but honestly, his putting was really bad. You called that before the week. Like, this is where like an old weakness might reveal itself given the challenge. So I'll give him a B. PJ, what'd you have?
What rear its head at TPC River Highlands? I don't think this week. Back to the comfy PGA Tour where putts don't break and greens are the same speed every week.
PJ, your guy Cameron Young, one of your favorites from New York.
A+.
Go ahead.
A+++. A++++. This is a guy who we talked to him on Tuesday, lunch with the boys, first ever guest, got the white whale to start the program, only downhill from there. But as we said, as the graphic says here, 6 career top 5 finish at a major. Only 4 guys have more since 2022. I mean, come on. Hey, this is we're in the Masters already for next year. Feeling good about River Highlands, but how do you not give him an A++++++?
If you need a groomsman,
he's your guy. Higher grade than Spaun? Is he getting a higher grade than Spaun on your scale?
I mean, JJ Spaun at least has popped a little bit this year. I don't know. Cam Young, this is borderline out of nowhere. We've just had a good last 2 weeks.
Love it. That's your Cam Young minute from PJ Clark, New York zone. I'll give him an A for being in it, but he's a groomsman. He's a professional groomsman. Always there by your side. Never getting married himself.
Let's get last 2. I'm most interested in you, BP. What's your grade for Pittsburgh as a Clevelander? What are you giving Pittsburgh for the week?
I gave it an F. But that's just because they're the home city of the Steelers. I'm out. No, I enjoy Pittsburgh. I think we have a lot in common, Cleveland and Pittsburgh, besides successful football teams. I'm giving Pittsburgh an F just out of principle because it's the home of the Steelers. How about you?
So you're not on the Jason, spending a week there hasn't made you like Jason Day, where your favorite team's the Browns and your second favorite team's the Steelers.
No, I'm a man of principle. Jason Day clearly is just sort of this shiftless fella who will just go with whatever sounds good to the people around him. How about you?
Jason Day's favorite quarterback's Russell Wilson. I'm gonna
Totally inauthentic, fellas. Peas in a pod.
I'm giving it a B. I'm giving Pittsburgh a B. I really enjoyed it. I think it's an underrated city. The reason it gets a B was the weather was pretty awful. And I think this goes to my Oakmont. I gave Oakmont a B plus, just because we want to see Oakmont firm and fast and no rain, but it seems like every time they host, it's rains. It just rains this time of year, which kind of bumps it down in the venue. It's I don't know. I found myself in the media center being like, you know what, where it's not going to rain this time of year ever, California, and that's why they had the ratings come out for the U.S. Open. All the biggest ratings were California sites. I saw like LACC highest rating. So.
I mean, that's prime time though too. They can bump into prime time on the East Coast. That helps. I gave it a B. Just you said, the water was obviously an issue, and the rough was a subject of. I think it was just overemphasized. Whether you like it, dislike it, the rough just became too big a part of the story. So I'll give the setup a B. By far and away, worst grade of the week. Far and away, Wendy Clark, your guy. F for Wendy Clark. Your guy. You love Wyndham Clark. Your LACC champion. I'm Wendy Clark, F and detention. Multiple, not just a failing grade, but also disciplinary trouble for damaging lockers. Worst grade of the week. Feel bad. You're reporting or you're suggesting that maybe Oakmont, the membership, might not want him back when it returns in 2033. It's his last year of his exemption. But yeah, F for Wendy Clark and a detention. So
I think he's gonna have to write a nice letter. I gave him an F too.
All right, maybe consult Sam Stonders on letter writing. We're going to take a break. That's our U.S. Open. Obviously, major season's winding down, so we had to do some grades. We've got one more coming to Portrush. We're going to take a break, get back to the instant week with Travelers, and talk about some whimsical matters going forward. All right, we're back with Ion Golf with the shotgun start. We've gone lawn on the new commissioner and new CEO, I should say. Some U.S. Open grades. We're going to do a little whip around whimsy. Usually it's whip around Wednesday. These are going to be more whimsical topics for sure. One thing I saw earlier this week from Alex Myers, Golf Digest reporter, is that there's a billboard outside of the Travelers this week rooting on a caddy. Joe LaCava got a billboard on the entryway into TPC River Highlands with an LFG, keeping it somewhat PG-13, I suppose. Patty Ice, and then it appears to be just from a mom and pop shop, not necessarily a sponsor of any kind, maybe friends or family. Connecticut's own Joe LaCava, LFG JoJo. So we've got a billboard for a caddy, a notable caddy, certainly one of the more famous caddies, but that sort of tickled me. And I thought, who else deserves, what sort of peripheral characters in this traveling circus that is the PGA Tour should get a billboard at one of the events, whether it's this week or elsewhere? PJ, do you want to lead us off here? Do you have any billboard nominees that might be in the vein of LaCava?
Yeah, I think a fitting one, right? A billboard, you want to advertise how great the place is, so great that people don't want to leave. So I would put Matt Kuchar on a billboard for the Wyndham because he wanted to stay an extra day so bad that you need to advertise. How great is it that Matt Kuchar, who's made however many $70 million on the PGA Tour, he loves the Wyndham so much he wanted to stay overnight and play again on Monday morning last year.
I love an incredible activation for the title sponsor, because you could say
it's a hotel
to stay in the
perfect.
Wyndham an extra night. That's a great
perfect.
one.
He wanted those free points. We know that. Go ahead, Andy. What do you got?
To LaCava here.
Yeah.
Are these people that put the billboard up, are they going to be in attendance, like cheering him on as he walks off yardages? Like, great step. Nailed that yardage. Way to rake the bunker, Joe. Like, is that what they're going to be doing?
Good towel etiquette.
Yes.
Yeah, seems like they're going to be there. Just seems a little extra. Do you have a billboard nominee, Andy, that you'd like to see on this traveling circus?
I don't have to nominate a billboard. I don't know if you guys saw Bryson DeChambeau with his weekend off. Did you see what he did with his weekend off?
I did. Miscut.
He was basically out there like somebody trying to corral you into a car wash, holding out a sign that says, "Please come to my golf tournament for Live Merido." At one point, he was up on top of a cross-hang sign on a
Okay, I think that one was.
Was that shopped? It's got to be Photoshopped.
That one was probably not real. I don't think Bryson's sitting on an interstate. I got to be honest.
I was looking at it. I'm like, that looks really dangerous. Like, I wouldn't want to sit up there.
They're not sending that asset up on top of the highway. I think it's got to be shopped, but TBD. AI can work wonders these days. Yeah, that's a good one. That's like how much. I mean, some of the guys that do these, dance for you. That's going excessive. Standing on street corners, holding up signs, and going on billboards. Someone I'd like to see get a billboard is Ken Tackett, our guy, Ken Tackett. I think we're going to start giving LaCava his flowers. I mean, Tackett might get as much TV time as any non-player on the PGA Tour. I don't know. Pick a spot. Wherever there's predominant rulings or prevalent rulings, get Ken Tackett, root him on, get him a billboard, and fire it up. Maybe a walkie-talkie could be, coming out of the top of the billboard. I want Ken Tackett getting his own billboard.
Ken Tackett and PJ and I had a run-in last week.
How'd that go?
It was Sunday afternoon, very late, and it was the final group. We're out watching the final group, and we're walked down 10. It was so muddy. PJ and I were like, we're going back to the media center. It started to pour down rain at this point, and we were maybe like 10 feet from the rope line, 200 yards from the leaders,
walking away from everything in the wrong direction, completely out of everything.
We were like walking backwards, and Ken Tackett, he goes, "Hey guys," and we turned around, and he goes, "I need you right by the rope line. I need you right by the rope line."
And we were laying down the law. I love that.
We got it. I think he recognized my voice, honestly. I said, "I got it. We got it." And then he's okay, carry on.
I love it. Laying down the law, jamming you, putting you in your place. All right, one last one for whip around whimsy. We heard yesterday in the press releases that there'll be a commissioner role still under Rolapp, but it's quote unquote ceremonial after Jay is long goodbye after 18 months. Do you have a nominee for just a ceremonial guy? Big title, not a lot of responsibility. Who would be your ceremonial next commissioner? PJ, lead us off again.
Another guy that we've kind of lost this year in the last couple of years, but we need to have him back in the fold. Who else could do a bigger ceremonial, speak in front of a microphone kind of job? Give me Paul Azinger. Get him back in the mix.
Oh, yes.
That's who we need. That, I think, is a real option.
This was my choice, too. Same reason.
Love it.
This is incredible to have Zinger as a ceremonial. It'd be a perfect guy for the job.
Perfect pick. Similar minds. I think Don Rea would obviously easily jump over and love to just give out speeches and trophies and jump into that spot. But if not, it has to be local, Ponte Vedra native, Billy Boy. I think he's got a lot of time left. Billy Horschel, probably playing time, but maybe if it's ceremonial, he can do both. All right, that concludes Whip Around Whimsy. We're going to take another break here, come back, and look back on a past Travelers Championship. Maybe do some Ken Duke appreciation after the break here. All right, welcome back to Eye on Golf with Shotgun Start. A frequent segment on the podcast is a Flashback Friday. So with the Eye on Golf show, we want to bring up and appreciate an old winner each week. For this one, Greater Hartford Open, the Cannon Hartford Open, now the Travelers Championship. We're going to go back 12 years to Ken Duke's win, the 2013 Travelers Championship. Ken Duke, I followed him as a kid, actually. I was like an honorary observer somewhere. And he was a nice gentleman, so I took a liking to him. Then he became this cult hero for like golf Twitter between that round for the ages at TPC Sawgrass when they lost it. And this was his one win. This is his solo PGA Tour win. He's won on Champions Tour. And I always loved this. He sort of commanded the camera to come in, get in his face. It's like that bowler Pete Weber. He meant like, who do you think you are? I am. You remember when he's yelling? That was like Ken Duke, PGA Tour. Always throws his visor after he holes out. And became sort of a cult hero. Kenny Duke now doing damage. He's in the Senior Players Championship this week, but this was his only win. Beat Chris Stroud in a playoff. I doubt the rating was the highest in PGA Tour history for that one on CBS, but nonetheless, a great memory of me. Just when he grabbed the camera, like pointed at it and said, "I'm the winner. Who do you think you are? It's me. I'm the guy." Love Kenny Duke in that 2013 Travelers Championship. His one win on the PGA Tour. I know you're a Duke fan as well, Andy.
I mean, how could you not love Ken Duke? I mean, there's obviously the Players where it got just like nuclear hard, and he shoots. I think it was 65. He ends up finishing T3rd at the Players. What was remarkable is the T3rd at the Players didn't get him into the Players the next year, because I don't think top 125. But there's got to be some sort of exemption for that top 5. I know I just said get rid of all exemptions, but if you play the round of the tournament, you should be back, maybe. A couple interesting Ken Duke facts. Inspiring in general. Anybody that ends up being like a legit professional that doesn't play D1 sports. He played at D2 Henderson State University, so D2 golfer. Made a big career on the PGA Tour, continuing to play on the Champions Tour. A couple other interesting facts about Ken Duke that I love. Middle name is Wootson, Wootson, Kenneth Wootson Duke, and he actually is from Arkadelphia. Did you know that there's a town in Arkansas called Arkadelphia, like Philadelphia, but Arkadelphia?
No.
Arkadelphia. So he went to Arkadelphia High School. So that's amazing. That's my kind of Ken Duke thoughts. I just think that the Duke, we didn't get enough of it in the internet world, because I think he would have become more of a cult hero in the 2020s.
Jason Day of that 2016 Players Championship round. What course was Ken Duke playing today? Can anyone tell me? Was he playing across the road? So that was his claim to fame, and of course his 2013 Travelers Championship win. Ken Duke, little appreciation for Ken Duke. We're going to go to break and look more currently at this week's Travelers Championship after this. All right, we're back with Eye on Golf with the shotgun start. We're rolling into Travelers Championship this week. It's the last signature event of the season before the playoffs come. Everybody's there. Scottie, Rory, at a familiar golf course. Great closing 4 holes, or fun closing 4 holes. Great may be a stretch. Great crowds. Really, New England's Northeast only event. I really like the Travelers Championship. Massive crowds. It'll be fun. Let's make some. What does that stand for on your hat there? You're like Lee Corso here, TPC River Highlands. Who do you like this week?
TPCRH. Shout out Business Pete. Looking forward to being at TPCRH this weekend. But I'm taking Keegan Bradley. Kind of a home game for the Northeast boy.
All right, Andy, who do you like this week at River Highlands RH?
I'm freeing myself on the show of my one and done league, so I'm gonna just pick. I think there were a lot of guys running around last week getting away with stuff, and I think the sheriff, Scottie Scheffler, he's gonna be frustrated. He's mad. He's gonna go out there, make a bunch of arrests, and reestablish himself as the man to beat. Scottie Scheffler at TPC River Highlands. Brendan.
So disregard your Ben Griffin pick there listed on the bottom.
Yeah, that was my one and done. Anyways, we'll be back next week. Big thanks for tuning in and checking out the first show with us here.